And good afternoon to everybody. Hopefully, each and every one of you guys are having a fantastic day. Uh, kind of excited to get to see y'all today. First time going live here at the house on the new schedule, here in front of the wall of history. So, kind of excited about that. Got a few stories to read and some neat additions that we have to the wall here, and can't wait to show y'all those. Want to say welcome to Philip. Thank you so much for coming in. It's good to see you. May, thank you so much for coming in. It's good to see you as well. I had to start about 30 minutes late today because I was over at Dad's gathering cucumbers and cutting the garden good, but the garden tiller, and then I had to come home and change really good and take the girls to get a little get us some pizza and bring it home, little groceries that we needed, and then I had to scramble a piece down before we went live so I could have a little something down. And then just got a neat little show today. Getting to do a little celebration with y'all, and some special gifts were given to me that's going to be added up here on the wall of history here. Found some really cool finds that we've added. So uh, we'll get into that. Just let a few folks come on in here and then we'll get started. Like I said, it's always good to see everybody and always look forward to our Thursdays together. Uh, Probably won't keep y'all too long today, about 30 minutes or so, but we'll have a good time anyway. Always getting to share some ooky spooky stories that we found and some of the neat stuff we've got here. So I want to say welcome into Karen. Thank you so much for coming. It's good to see you. Good to see you. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Appreciate everybody for coming out, and the folks at home that don't have the capabilities to comment or are not able to comment. We thank you so much for watching and giving us the old thumbs up. We sure appreciate that, and telling your friends about us. We really appreciate that. And let's see. I want to say welcome to Tammy. Thank you so much for coming in. It's good to see you. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Appreciate everybody for coming in. As always good to see y'all. Just can't beat you with a stick, I swear. Uh, as you can, let's see. Oh, Steve's in here. Good to see you there, brother. Thank you so much for coming in. Good to see you. Good to see you. And AT Paranormal, thank you so much. It's good to see you as well. Thank you for coming in, being with us tonight. Appreciate it. Uh, I had to. This spot right here was for our great old big dish pan, but it's currently being used what it was created for. So I needed to fill the spot up. So, Rachel, it's good to see you. Thanks so much for coming in. Welcome to you as well. So, done some. This iron skillet right here was actually dug out of a scrap pile. It was so rusted up and wasn't usable for nothing. And I carried it home and washed it really good and scrubbed a lot of those rust flakes off. And then we rubbed it with oil and reconditioned it. But on the back, which you guys can't really see, but it's etched on there, the Cornbread Festival. It's a big time festival in I believe it's South Pittsburgh or Bridgeport, something. They have this great big old festival celebrating cornbread, and they have a cornbread cook off and competition, just all kind of stuff. And that was that came from there. And then this little doodad right here, it was actually used in fields for years and years and years. And finally, the old handle, wooden handle rotted on it, and they just hung it up. And it was given to me recently, so I put it up here on our wall of history. And old Steve, the alligator horse, said he put up 600 bales of hay. Lord have mercy. Like he said, at least he was driving the tractor, not having to do none of that footwork. Boy, that's rough stuff right there. But those are new. And then right below them, this pot of flowers. I mean, this is just something I put together here, but what it's in, this is an old iron flower pot stand that I found at a consignment shop. I give $2 for that. And I put a little arrangement together and put it up here. And then, of course, as you guys saw yesterday in the video we did, our Appalachian mountain dulcimer. Dang right, Amish boys ain't afraid of work for sure, boy. They get to it. But welcome in, Nancy. She said, I got to get back to work. I just needed to say hello, so watch back later tonight. Well, we appreciate you for coming in and say hello, and hopefully you have a good rest of your day at work, and I appreciate you stopping in. We appreciate you. Thank you so much. But and I got a couple of extra special pieces set over here. This little sign, it goes right above this stand here. This was actually off of a police car from 1969. It's a American Federation of the Police member, which was a union for the police officers, tag from 1969. The man passed away, and he gave this to his nephew, and his nephew passed away, and it was given to me. So it'll be up there. And then this photograph right here, you guys will actually see this in the video Saturday. Welcome in, Flying Squirrel. So good to see you. Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is an old picture. You don't get more Appalachian than that right there. This bad boy is going to be right above this, like this, right up there. The little tacks are up there. I just pulled those off so y'all could see them. But that's the kind of the updates to our wall here. Like I said, I pulled that old pan off the wall because we're actually using it. It's in the kitchen right now with cucumbers in it. So we put it back to work. And today I was going to take pictures and show you guys, but I completely forgot my phone at home. But got a full, humongous wheelbarrow load of cucumbers today and a few okra out of the garden. Let's see. And no, Karen, we don't actually know who the photograph is of. There's not anything written on it. It's just on there. Sometimes we do get lucky, and on the back of the pictures is, a date, a name, or something. But this one, unfortunately, was one that we don't know. I know it's very old. It looks like it was taken in the pretty early days of the Appalachian Mountains. That's an old picture. But we got it to go up here on the wall right next to that thing. That thing's my favorite. I've always wanted one of those dulcimers, and when I found that thing for $30, I couldn't believe it. So it's got its place here on the wall, and like I showed yesterday, it's got just a little wooden block mount that it slides. It's got like a little lip that runs around the bottom, and that lip, it slides in, that locks it in so that it won't fall. So we got it up here. And one day I want to make a video on this paper right here because I think it's 1863. It's the Daily Huntsville Confederate during the Civil War. So he spent $8,000 building a wife a series of raised garden beds with cabbage. Wow, that's a lot of work. Raised beds are, but we just done a regular garden patch and just spent our money on the garden tiller. And I ain't gonna lie, there's some weeds in that thing as tall as I am. I got to get in there and work on it. It's just been so daggum hot, I ain't been able to get out there in it. But we'll get it took care of. I was out there tilling today. I need to go back tomorrow afternoon and go back through it, pull some of them big old tall weeds out. That way some of our other stuff can grow. Our peanuts, you can't see them for the weeds. So got to get in there and clear them out from around where they can grow. But as far as the channel, actually June the 25th was our 2-year anniversary, and I haven't had a chance to go live at home to even celebrate it till now. So wanted to celebrate that. 2 years on YouTube's awesome. I never thought we'd make it this far. And having let's see, what are we up to? We got 1,882 of you guys that watch. We really appreciate that. Y'all are awesome. And as far as channel views, we're up to 123,607 channel views. We appreciate that, which I know that's nothing. Jared and them, they have millions, but we're still growing. We appreciate each and every one of y'all for supporting us and being here with us through all these crazy times, and watching the videos and telling your friends and clicking the like button and sharing out. We appreciate all that. You guys are so awesome. If I can ever get my watch hours up, I'll be able to retry for I've been able to do the partner program for like a year, but I've just had so many I've had a lot of trouble with YouTube on some things. I'm still trying to get figured out, but we'll get there. It says, speaking of squirrels, Jelly Bell jumped through the window screen today. After a squirrel. No, I wouldn't be happy either. Having to replace an old window screen, that's not fun. But like I said, we're so grateful to each and every one of y'all for all your support. We really, really do appreciate that. Really appreciate y'all. Y'all are awesome. We can't do it without y'all, that's for sure. And we got a few stories to read tonight that I found I thought would be interesting. So may get me off this old screen and see what we got tonight. Let's see. It says this one is some first-hand accounts of a person's life, and he said, here's some spooky stories. And let's see, Karen says that her husband would bet about a nickel, had a bet about a nickel hanging on the wall. I used one before, right? And hello, John. Thanks so much for coming in. Sure appreciate it. But this one reads, I have a few spooky stories to tell you. All my life, I've been interested in the paranormal. I think the interest is from my past experiences. Here are a few stories. My first story begins when I was but 7 years old. I lived with my grandma and my brother in my grandma and grandpa's retirement home. This was a small house with 2 bedrooms, a great big living room, and a kitchen, and a smaller bedroom off to the side. I said, well, when you walk in the front door and look to your left, that's the bedroom side by side, and the bathroom next to the last bedroom. Let's see. It says, when I was 7 years old, I had insomnia, but it didn't help that I was terrified of spiders and woke up from bad dreams of the spiders crawling all over me. Well, one ordinary night, I woke up from a bad dream, as I always did, and decided to go to the living room to sit near my old dog Skip. When I opened my bedroom door, I looked at the living room to find a white blur in front of the fireplace. Let's see. Welcome in, Tarsha. Thanks so much for coming in. And Miss Jana, thank you so much for coming in as well. We appreciate y'all coming in. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Let's see. It was a tall white blur that moved across the living room as soon as I stepped into the living room. I thought I was dreaming, so I went to the bathroom. When I came back out, the white blur was there again. From then until I was 14, I saw that same white blur. It moved around the TV, looking at the pictures on the wall. There are 3 pictures of my mom, brother, and I. One of my grandma, and there was a painting of a portrait of my grandpa looking away. During the day, I would look at his portrait, and it seemed to be looking back at me. This would only happen when I would look at that portrait. No one else in the family noticed it. When I was a little bit older, I was having one of my many talks with my grandma. In one of these talks, she told me about my grandpa. She said he designed and built this little house. And 2 years after it was done, and 1 year after I was born, he died in his sleep. He had a brain tumor for 6 months. She said Grandpa got to spend time with my brother when he was a baby until he died. But he got to spend a tiny bit of time with me. Perhaps this white blur was him spending time with me yet again. This next story has to do with my friend Meredith, who lived a half a mile away down the road. She was interested in the paranormal as I was. When I was 13, she was 15, and we made a Ouija board. We used a lined paper to make the letters and numbers and a few candles. Between us, we tried to contact someone from beyond. We contacted a spirit named Jack. He was very nice and comforting to talk to. We played around with him a little bit, asked him weird questions in our head. He'd answer on the board. One day, Jack could not be reached, so we tried for a general spirit. Using general, any spirit talked to us. This one time, however, we got a nasty spirit. First he talked very nice, but then I made a mistake of asking if he was good or bad, and he quickly responded bad. Meredith asked if he was in the room at the time. We both felt it really, really cold and eerie feeling. Then we asked him to do something to prove it was he in the room. He switched off the light and then turned it back on, made our candle go out, and made it also relight. He knocked over the lamp on the dresser, pulled my hair and Meredith's hair almost at the same time. We were so freaked out that we ran out of the room and ran outside to her pony that was in the backyard, as if the pony was going to protect us. We went back in after a little while and summoned Jack. We wouldn't ask for anyone else but Jack again. It sounds to me like I wouldn't have even asked for Jack. That's crazy. And right, Steve, you are definitely correct. Those things are nothing but trouble. And here's another one. This one's called the boarding house. It says, I was living in a boarding house in Waterbury, Connecticut. This house was over 100 years old. I lived on the second floor along with another woman. 3 men lived in the rooms above us. The landlady, she lived on the first floor. The basement was the borders of the kitchen, the laundry, and the pool room. I don't know much of the history of the house, but I know it's haunted. My record player would switch speeds by itself. Things moved all around without even a single person touching it. Doors would open and close by themselves. And you could hear the sounds of the pool table, even though no one was playing. The smell of cigars was always present, even though the landlady demanded no smoking inside her house. Even the dog refused to go into the pool room. The scariest thing that happened to me was the time I was sitting alone in the basement when something pulled my hair. My hair was cut very short at the time. Said I lived in this house for only a year's time, but the occurrences happened for the entire year. My goodness, that sounds insane. Can you imagine having to always deal with that? And it really does make you wonder what actually went on there. All these old places have a story. Just, you never know what kind of story it has, though. Let's see. Need to find us one more at least. Let's see. Here's another short one. This one is called The Lost Little Girl. It says January of 1995, my family and I moved into a house. The house was 14 years old. It was the second night we were in the house when my husband and I were watching TV. Most of the lights were off. Suddenly, the husband says, "Did you see that?" It was a ghost coming from the hallway, wailing in front of the TV. He doesn't believe in ghosts or spirits, so I was surprised that he said that. He sat up and stated that he saw a girl slowly walking in front of the TV. At the time, we just decided to go to bed. Later that night, I got up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom. As I went to enter the door of the bathroom, something quickly flashed across the doorway, making me suddenly stop and look around. But nothing was there. This happened every night, but I learned to ignore it. but I kept a little nightlight in the bathroom. Upon entering the bathroom, sometimes you can see a shadow person standing in the doorway. I guess we must have learned to live with this, but we don't talk about it much anymore. We just ignore it. Man, makes you kind of wonder, why is this girl here? What is what happened to her? Okay, boy, this is a good one. Steve just submitted a story. We can read it live here, or we can wait till next week, whichever one y'all want to do. Looks like it's going to be a good one. But yeah, there we go. I appreciate it. Thank you for sending that. At which, guys, in the bottom of the TV screen there is the email flashing. So if you have any stories you'd like to share, feel free to send them. This one is from our awesome brother, Alligator Horse, right here, and it says this is a true story. I will do my best to keep this as brief as possible. This is the story of my introduction to the fact that things beyond our knowledge try to break into our world. It began as a game and then went through phases of entertainment, humor, and then finally sheer terror. It says on Christmas in 1997, while visiting my in-laws in Michigan, the entire family had gone to Windsor, Ontario to visit relatives on the Canadian side of the border. We returned to my in-laws' home around 6:30 in the evening. No one was in the house while we were there. Let's see. While we were gone, and things looked the same when we came home as when we left it, except for one thing. My mother-in-law had a Christmas tree decoration that consisted of a little wooden train with a locomotive caboose and 4 flat cars. She kept this on her piano in the living room. The 4 flat cars held wooden blocks that spelled Noel. Upon our return home, I sat down in the living room and noticed the decorations, and I called out my wife's mother, and asked, "Hey Donna, who is Leon?" The letters had been reversed to spell out Leon. She came in the room and asked what I meant, and I mentioned towards the piano and asked, "Who is Leon?" She looked kind of surprised and asked me if I were pulling her leg, which I was not. So she questioned everyone in the house, and all claimed to be innocent. No one had changed the letters. After a quick supper, where the topic of conversation was the mystery of the decorations, my mother-in-law finally said, "Let's see if we can find who Leon is." She then went and retrieved an Ouija board from the basement. Now, I have never seen one in use, so I decided to sit back and be amused at the silliness of it all. My wife and her mother volunteered to start placing their fingertips on the planchette. They asked, "Who is Leon?" Nothing. They waited for a moment and asked again, "Is Leon here?" The planchette began to move very slowly. It took quite a while, and it misspelled a couple of words. But the planchette board, whatever, answered, Leon is with me. Let's see. Let's say hello to Nisi. Thank you so much for coming in. It's so good to see you. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And same to you, Daryl. Thank you so much for coming in. I appreciate it. Okay. At this answer, they asked, who were they speaking to? And it answered, I am the keeper of the gate to the garden. Whatever that meant. At this point, the evening turned to more of a parlor game, and people began to ask questions to check the accuracy of this board. The answers were surprisingly accurate, but I still scoffed as there was the possibility that my wife or her mother were doing this as a joke. Finally, my mother-in-law suggested I ask a question. I took some dribbling from the rest of the crowd, but not to be a wet blanket, I agreed to join in. Now ask a question that no one knows, Donna told me. So thinking something easy, I decided to ask, what was the first car I remember my family having? A 1955 Chevy. So I asked the planchette, and it shot over to no. We all looked at each other, and I was told to ask again, so I did. Again, no. My mother-in-law asked the board if it were going to answer my question, and again, it said no. When she inquired as to why it refused to answer the planchette, it spelled out skeptic. They then asked why it called me a skeptic, and it replied, I cannot see through them. Dumbfounded, the question was asked to explain why it could not see through me. The reply, too much light. Though I had never learned what that meant, I am thinking it as something good. I'd rather have light in me than darkness. So the night progressed, and the board began to move off and onto topics of its own. It kept talking of the original sin and would say things like man is corrupt and kind of creepy stuff. Here I will mention that in the beginning of the planchette, agonizingly slow and misspelled a lot of words. As the night progressed, it gained speed and spelling accuracy. It eventually was flying around the board at speeds that all they could do was shout out the letters as we could write them down. Amazingly, they formed words, sentences, and even paragraphs. The messages continued about the corruptness of man and of man's great sin. It was finally kind of hung up on that subject and kept coming back to it. Finally, my mother-in-law asked me if I believed now, and I told her that I thought something was behind the workings. I know my wife is very intelligent and talented, and she would have had to have rehearsed this thing for months to be spelling out thoughts as such speed. So my wife's mom asked the board if it would reconsider answering the question for me. This is the time the planchette shoots over to yes. At this point, Donna said, ask the question silently in your mind. I asked her why She explained that the spirit would hear me. Okay, I'll try. So I silently asked the question, what is the name of my great grandmother on my grandfather Simpson's side of the family? I only recently learned the name Mariah. The planchette spelled out Tench. I sat in stunned silence as everyone looked at me. Finally, I was asked what my question was and what the answer meant to me. I explained how I had silently asked the name of my great grandmother. Everyone was tense when they waited for me to finish. Explained how I had been looking for the name Mariah. Tench was my great grandmother's maiden name before she married my grandpa Simpson. Okay, something weird was going on here. Now the evening took a nastier turn. The planchette quit answering questions and began to tell us things. All things like all men have the same fate, that men would be vats of blood rather than wet blanket stuff. It revealed that my brother-in-law had an illegitimate child, and the child would never pass through the gate. Finally, we decided we had experienced enough entertainment, so we decided to start. Now for the amazing part. The planchette, with no one touching it, shoots over to no. Stunned silence as we sat and stared at this moving on its own power. It spelled out that if we put it away, it will go blind. Then it offered to tell us on its own with no human assistance. It's lonely in the shadows. That was it. We're done. The board went back in the box, put in the basement, and it is still there to this day. Oh boy, my goodness. I believe I'd have to have a new change of clothes after experiencing something like that. That is crazy. I want to say a super, super thank you and shout out to our awesome brother, the alligator horse, for sending that in. That was so cool. And Tarsha had some good eating, it sounded like. Fried chicken, pinto beans, cornbread, and coleslaw. Can't beat any of that stuff. That's good stuff. It says, do y'all have a Raisin Cane restaurant? I've never heard of it. Last night I fixed some I have fixed some boneless country style pork ribs on the grill with some squash out of the garden and some cucumbers out of the garden, some corn, some potatoes. Oh man, it was good. And he says, after his mother-in-law passed, her sister got rid of that board. I do not blame her. That's crazy. And what I don't understand is how you can go to the mall and, like Spencer's or Hot Topic or any of them places, and they have these and it's sold as a game. Wow. That's just insane how I know people don't believe in these things and they don't think that there's anything of it, but then you find out real quick when things go bad that there's something to it. And kind of a good example of that is, just the past week here, we lost that paranormal investigator that had Annabelle the doll touring the United States, and he was found dead. There's reasons why that thing was in a box and it was blessed every day by the priest. I would have left it sitting there, that's for sure. And definitely wouldn't be parading something like that around, that's for sure. And I know it's controversial and all that, I understand, but man, that's best leave things that you don't understand alone. That's probably one of the best pieces of advice somebody could definitely take a good advice from. But I want to thank you guys for coming out tonight and joining in, celebrating the 2 years on YouTube and checking out the changes on the wall, and appreciate all the comments and sharing out and the likes and the subscriptions. We appreciate you guys so much. Y'all are so awesome. And y'all are so awesome. I appreciate, you guys make it so worth it to be able to put out a video and see the same people leaving the comments and telling what they thought and giving their stories. I really, 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 really appreciate that. You guys make it worth it. And Saturday's video I'm still working on right now, actually, but it's going to be, it may have to be in 2 parts. I don't know. Right now, the video's a half an hour long because it has 25 pictures in it. But it's the volume 6 in our historic Appalachian photo series, and this one is in honor of the men of Appalachia. So if I have a problem getting it to create, I may have to do it in 2 parts. I'm hoping that I'm still in the editing phase of it. Maybe I can squeeze a few minutes out of there and get it down to where it'll make. Because sometimes a longer video is hard to get together, especially when it's got so many pieces to it like these do. But it'll either way, Saturday, if it's a multiple part, it'll be volume 6 part 1, and then part 2 will be next week. But either way, we'll figure it out. Like I said, this is just one of the photos that's in that, if you didn't get to see that earlier. But this one is going to be right up there on our wall. That's a special picture. It's one of probably the oldest ones that I have. So we'll have that coming out Saturday, and I don't know what our topic for next week's going to be on the next video, but I actually sat down and organized. I got a whole book of topics of history from all over Alabama and just different neat things that I found. And so thank you so much, Janet, for coming in tonight. I appreciate it. Thank you. But like I said, I'll let you guys get back to your afternoon. I really appreciate y'all coming in and hanging out and listening to the crazy stories and celebrating the 2 years on YouTube. I can't thank you guys enough. But I guess until next Thursday night, we'll see you guys later. Bye, guys. Mm-hmm.